Good afternoon. My name is Sifu Dave Charlesworth from KAJUKENBO Napoli here in Naples, Italy.
I'm Sifu Steve Miller of East Wind KAJUKENBO in beautiful Central Oregon, United States of America. Today's episode is entitled Cowardly Deceptive Manipulators Behind the Scenes. And I think that pretty much speaks for itself, but we're gonna rant for a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, about some things that we see. In the late '90s, Sifu Dave, it seems like the internet became more important than real life relationships for some reason or another. Everybody
Yeah,
started everybody started going into chat rooms using keyboards to complain about shit instead of picking up the phone to call each other or doing it face to face.
yeah, and it's unfortunate, really. It really is, I mean, and I think, something I'd like to state just right off the bat here is just kind of a like, a lot of people uh, just judging off some of the experiences and whatnot that have gone over the last couple weeks here. And unfortunately, WWKF has been at the center of some of the controversy that's been going on across the KAJUKENBO community here for a couple weeks now. Hardcore. That's not to say that this hasn't been going on for years because it has. In fact, I've always wanted to be a black belt in KAJUKENBO. And then when I finally got there, what a fucking letdown. Pardon my French. But there is so much politics in
Well, let me
KAJUKENBO.
let me add let me add some colorful language. Um, your remark isn't unwarranted because politically, the only thing more volatile than Kajukembo is Penchok Silat, and that's a whole nother episode. But Kajukembo in politics has become a freaking shit show
Oh
in
yeah.
recent
Well, and some people will say also that, okay, I'm a part of the problem. It's something I was told recently when I was discussing this with some folks in a KAJUKENBO group chat. And I said, okay, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But if you go back and you watch my videos, okay, and you listen to the words that I'm saying, okay, I am not casting stones at people. Okay. Most of the time, I am just putting out fact. Okay. I'm
Well,
putting out
I
information.
would like to add. Let me add, as a viewer of your channel and not just a guest occasionally, and I watch Senior Grandmaster Tony Jimenez. I mean, he is my Sifu now. He's my commander in chief. I'm WWKF now, boys and girls. But what I see coming from both of you guys are responses to attacks, typically unwarranted attacks. Because, first of all, every organization has a right to run itself however they see fit. And it's really nobody's business. Now, I can say, okay, to a certain degree, we're all supposed to look out for each other and for Kajukembo in general, like for keeping the art, keeping the integrity in the art. So I can, but the Bible it says in the Bible it says a soft rebuke is better than a harsh one. And Sifu Tony always puts his phone number up at the end of any video. I figure enough people are complaining to him about his videos or whatever. They know how to call him because his phone number is always announced. They know where he's on Facebook. If they have a problem with how he runs something, they can contact him privately. And so I don't think it's bad if somebody has a problem with, and I just used our commander in chief for an example because he already takes a lot of attacks. But regardless, say it was Sifu Aldecasco, say he made a crazy promotion or something. Well, that's also part of the latest thing. But anyway, any Kajukembo instructor, let's just take somebody totally different. Um, you know, say Grandmaster Ron Esteller made some willy nilly promotions and took somebody from white belt to black belt overnight who had no knowledge of Kajukembo. Well, everybody would be on Sifu Ron Esteller's back complaining about it, but I don't think it would be wise for anyone to do that in a public forum. Call the man privately, and this is just a speculative example that I made up. But whether it was you or me or Ron Esteller or Tony Jimenez or Sid Lopez or Beth Bailey or anyone, if it came out that rank was awarded prematurely, then you go to the person who might be responsible privately. You privately tell them, "Hey, look, I don't think that was such a smart move on your part," or whatever. I mean, this stuff about calling each other out on public forums, calling each other names and all that shit. That's grade school behavior. That's junior high school behavior. At best, that shit should have gone away after high school.
I agree 100%, and to be honest with you, and I know that, as you said that, and, funny you picked that specific individual to talk about, that people are going to be like, well, Dave called out Ron Esteller. No, that's not what I did. The reality of the video that I made that involved Ron Esteller was talking about BOA standards, how they apply differently, essentially, okay, to different people depending on who you are. Okay, and the reason I was doing that, it was just trying to point out standards that are actually out there. Okay, the only standards that are actually published in KAJUKENBO are the BOA standards for 8th and 9th degree.
Oops on me. I don't know why I picked that. So,
Well, got to talk about it now.
Well, Sifu Ron, I met you a few times at Bruce Jucknick's martial arts gathering, and I've always had nothing but love and respect for you. So I'm not trying to drag your name into something or muddy your name or discredit you, for the record. But anyway, yeah, I don't know why I picked his name off the top of my head, but either way, we're not here to badmouth anyone in particular.
But I mean, that's a perfect example, though, of how, what I said on that video, and I actually did say, that I don't want to take anything away from what he's done for KAJUKENBO, right? I did say, that's concerning, but I wasn't concerning because I was questioning him. I was talking about the standards, but I don't want to get accused of walking anything back, so I'm not going to, keep talking about that.
Well, and I think what we just kind of rehashed is more related to different KAJUKENBO branches and organizations being able to run things the way they see fit. Like, for instance, one of our past chats off the record, not recorded, or maybe we even recorded part of this, you and I offered to step up and help Sifu Tony with curriculum requirements and bylaws for WWKF that we're going to put in a PDF format eventually whenever we get this finished. It'll probably be you doing it more than me because my hands don't work so well anymore since my disability. I can't really sit and type and do all that kind of crap, but I'll help you with discussion stuff as much as I can. And what we're going to do with that is anyone who wants to challenge the way Sifu Tony runs things in the WWKF, they can look at our bylaws and look at our curriculum requirements, and that way it's all open and honest and transparent, and we don't have anything to hide. And so every branch, every organization is free to run itself the way it sees fit. Obviously, that's within certain parameters when it comes to the general welfare and well-being of KAJUKENBO, as I previously stated. What we're here to talk about today is, in the past, we have seen anonymous looking YouTube accounts making slanderous comments or semi-slanderous comments, whether they've blown their own cover or not. Cheers. That's a whole nother topic. But now there's yahoos out on Facebook creating bogus accounts with fictitious names, and then they're throwing all this kind of slander around, and
that's the thing too, is I would ask the KAJUKENBO community, I mean, use your brains. Okay. And then the reason I say that, and I don't say that to be disrespectful. Okay. But when you see slanderous comments coming from some guy that we don't even know who he is, for example, Mansoor Salem, right? He joined KAJUKENBO chat room on 9/4/24, which is the day that he started posting bad stuff. Okay. His profile was also created the same day. Okay, so when you go back and you look at somebody's profile that's posting something that's negative like that in a KAJUKENBO chat room, and it only goes back to the day that they started posting or a couple days prior to that, chances are that's not a real account and probably not somebody who's a black belt in KAJUKENBO. Because if you're a black belt in KAJUKENBO, that took you a few years to get there, and probably took you a little while before you started opening your mouth and
Well,
KAJUKENBO.
and yeah, and if you're a black belt in KAJUKENBO, you shouldn't be posting content like those guys are posting. And you and I and Sifu Tony have already talked. We think that monster of Salem is Mohammed Othman, and whether it is or isn't, and there's that other guy, Peter Holland. I think it's the same Mohammed Othman, and he acts like he's different people. All he does is stir the pot. I
Yeah.
called him out in one KAJUKENBO group on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, what's your real identity? What's your KAJUKENBO foundation that you stand upon to sit here and make all these comments, these slanderous comments, and make slanderous posts about people he's never even met, for one. I doubt he's met most of the people in America that he wants to take pot shots at. And that should be number two, because number one, no black belt in KAJUKENBO should be talking like that to anyone, especially on a public forum. I mean, we need to go back to the days of yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, honor and respect. I mean, this is a salute, like military has a salute. And we need to treat each other with respect and with honor. People say respect is earned, not given. Well, when you give it, you earn it, folks. And if we all treat each other with respect, then we all have a reason to give it back. But these guys who come out there and say all these things, and they're not just slamming Senior Grandmaster Tony Jimenez, they're slamming all kinds of people. So it has to affect more than just you, me, people in the WWKF, Senior Grandmaster Jimenez. It affects everyone in KAJUKENBO. It affects all of KAJUKENBO. And anyone who sees people fake accounts like that, you see them posting hogwash, take a second, like you said, Sifu Charlesworth, go look at the account. Don't forget you're muting yourself. Go look at the account and find out, is that person, I mean, obviously it's pretty easy to see on most of these if they're a bogus, fictitious alias or not. And then, don't forget what they're posting and what they're commenting.
Oh yeah. Well, same thing happened with Peter Holland. Okay, Peter Holland joined August 27th and then started talking trash.
That's the same guy, man. That's the
You
same guy
know,
as Monsieur Salem. They're the
yeah.
same
Now,
guys.
now, whether or not that's Muhammad Atman or someone else that has a vendetta against probably against Senior Grandmaster Jimenez because he was the primary focus of the attack, but it did also.
But he posted that guy. Hang on,
So,
Dave. That guy posted about other people in KAJUKENBO, not just
oh
Senior
yeah.
Grandmaster
Yeah,
Tony.
he went around the horn. So it could be one guy, it could be more than one guy. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I could have broke out some hacking skills and started looking at IP addresses and things like that, you know. But I mean, come on, it shouldn't come down to that. And if you're a KAJUKENBO black belt and you've got something to say and you want to say it, then go ahead and say it. Anybody that's on the KAJUKENBO family tree that's behind me right now, okay, you earn the right to be able to say, hey, this isn't right. Okay. That doesn't mean to make an ass out of yourself in public in a KAJUKENBO group chat, where, by the way, not everybody in the chat room is KAJUKENBO. Okay. There was
Well,
one in there that,
how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? Hang on. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm really good at it. So,
oh yeah,
um,
well,
but how do you feel about channels of communication? I believe if someone has a problem with another person, go to that person directly first.
yes.
If that doesn't work, then you can take it more publicly, but do it in a polite, respectful fashion. What do you
Yeah.
think about that, Sifu?
Well, I don't necessarily probably have a problem with that, but and a lot of times, these conversations take place in somewhere where that member is not even present. Okay. Or may not be able to be present because he's been kicked out of the room. Okay. That's happened at least twice that I know of. In fact, as I was relaying information for him in one of the chat rooms, I ended up getting kicked out of the chat room because I was relaying information from him and back to him. And the crazy thing is, he never said anything that was worse off than one of the guys that I was defending him against. So I mean, it was kind of hypocritical, and the whole reason that I think it happened is because everybody has such a disdain, based off of the jackal mentality. Okay, to steal a term out of Mike Mather's book, there's a lot of jackals out there. Okay,
There are.
uh,
There are.
circle of prey. They only attack in pack.
Big salute to Sifu Mike Mather while we're on the subject of his name.
Yeah, and
But
I really
you know
enjoyed.
what? Let me interrupt one more time because I love to do it. But here's the deal. There is a big difference, ladies and gentlemen, between a bald-faced, unwarranted, straight up attack on someone, slandering them, and defending against such an attack. And I see way more defending against attacks kind of coming from Sifu Tony and yourself, Sifu Charlesworth. And most of the time, you're defending our senior grandmaster, Anthony Jimenez, just as a courtesy and out of respect and love for your teacher. And personally, I know you and I both get so sick of this shit. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
But it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if I was still under Sifu Lopez or Sifu Tim Gagne. If I saw somebody coming after Sid Lopez or Tim Gagne on KAJUKENBO and I was still a student of theirs, I would want to defend my teacher. And I'm pretty sure that anyone in KAJUKENBO, whether they're under Grandmaster Al DeCoscos or Grandmaster Ron Esteller or anyone, you're going to want to defend your Sifu if he's being
yep,
attacked. And there is a
exactly.
big difference between defending against attacks and making an attack.
And
Correct?
that's exactly true. I really try to pick and choose my words very carefully when I talk about other people anyways, because I that's not me. That's not who I am when it comes to talking trash about people. And I think if you guys go back and you actually watch the videos that I've posted, you'll see that. You'll see that I'm not actually attacking anybody directly. I don't believe that I've actually said anything bad about anyone, um, as an attack. Okay. Now things have gotten twisted into attack, and, my words always get twisted in something that they're not,
Right.
um, you know, to me, it's, here's another thing, right? You know, in this flurry of attacks, right? I can't tell you how many times people want to question me, question my lineage, question my training in KAJUKENBO and everything else, right? To the point where I've even had one guy ask me, "Could I see all your colored belt certificates from Grandmaster Lopez?" No, you
Well, you know what? We just recorded a really short episode that will
yeah,
probably be published previous to this one or right alongside it. And I publicly read an email from Sifu Beth Bailey, and it goes back to 87 and 88. So I'm not the only one who can verify the legitimacy of your training history. And I stand beside you. I don't want, I get sick of hearing from you or seeing it on social media that someone is questioning your lineage, because I was there back in the late 80s. Now, our paths didn't really overlap each other much because you were going into the Navy when I had first joined KAJUKENBO. So all we did was bump into each other at the Newburgh Community Center a couple times. Now, in 2010, you came and visited my school in Newburgh,
mhm,
and it was the American Self-Defense Association, American KAJUKENBO, teaching out of top spin tennis and indoor sports. And you popped in for 2 or 3 classes, and we went over the old Lopez forms, the old Lopez grab arts and punch counters. And I said, "Hey, man, you still got a lot of it." And you said, "Well, thanks, because I want to start a school in Italy when I retire." And I was like, "Hey, I will help you with that, whatever I can do to the best of my ability." And that's a whole nother
yeah.
discussion.
Well, and it's you know,
Seriously.
but it just goes to show, and like I said, I said no, you can't see all my certificates. I, it shouldn't even matter to you. Okay, what should matter
Well,
to you is the black belt certificate and looking at that document behind me and my name on the family tree under Anthony Jimenez.
well,
Okay.
you know what? I want to also say in your defense, I try to choose my words carefully, and every one of us could occasionally drop a 4-letter F bomb or say shit, like I said shit show earlier. I might have used an F word.
Yeah.
we're all grown ass men. We're grown ass adults. We can use 4-letter words if we want. But Sifu Charlesworth, I think you articulate really well, and you have, especially due to your military background, you use very professional mannerisms and language, and I want to salute you for that, and I think that more people should give you credit for that, because you could just come off and drop f bombs all day long with some of the bullshit you put up with, and
Yeah.
I think you do a great job articulating, sir.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And to be honest with you, I mean, uh, if people want to do verbal jujitsu with me, I could probably put them to shame because, being in the U.S. Navy for 26 years, I got quite a bit of experience doing that, with my shipmates, so we're pretty good at getting into, things like that. But at the same time, I mean, uh, it's not one of those things. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without actually being rude about it, but you know what? Somebody's rank in KAJUKENBO is between them and their instructor. Okay.
Absolutely.
Their instructors who decides when they're going to promote them and to what belt. Okay. Should matter nothing to all of you. Okay. Because that's that individual's right to promote people that he earned. Okay. Just like each and every one of you did. Okay. Just like if I'm going to promote somebody at my school, okay, I don't need Steve saying, hey, what do you mean you promoted that guy to purple belt? I don't think he deserves it. Oh, you made that guy a black belt? Look at him. Oh, look at his technique. It sucks. Let's poke fun at it. But oh, by the way, while I'm poking fun at your technique, I'm not going to post some of my own to my website so that you can see it. And when you ask me to do so because I'm trying to make fun of your technique, I'm going to post some technique of a couple of my colored belts doing techniques instead. Okay. The whole
Yeah.
reason I asked somebody to do that is because I'm posting techniques. Where's yours? And you want to use the disabled reason for not doing it? Guess what, shipmate? I'm 100% disabled and I'm still doing it. Okay. And I think I do a pretty good job of it. So
Well,
if you,
and you're over 50. We're both getting older, and I tried to mention that in previous episodes that, first of all, you deserve respect as a KAJUKENBO black belt and a retired military officer. And then
Master,
anyone, pardon, sir?
just call me Master Chief retired.
Master
No,
Chief
you can't
Charlesworth,
be an officer. You normally say, no, I work for a living, son.
Master Chief Charlesworth. Yeah, I think everyone should stop in their tracks and button their lips for a minute and consider the fact that as a black belt, a retired master chief, you deserve respect. And then anyone who's over 50 who keeps training, um, whatever your disability is, I mean, we all should be mindful of these kinds of things because we're all getting older. We're all going
Oh,
to
yeah.
die one day. We're all getting older. And you put out videos, and here's the deal. So I'll just say firsthand, you and I have had a lot of talks about people putting out videos, even videos that I've watched of yours in specific. And I want to read something real quick, folks, before I go on. And I'm sure some people out there might criticize this, but I don't give a rat's ass. Proverbs 15:1 from the Holy Bible says, "A gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare." That's from the New Living Translation. And then the King James Bible, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but generous words, but grievous words stir up anger." Sorry, I'm kind of blind with my glasses on close up. And from the New American Standard 1995, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Um, where's the English Standard Version? Everybody loves that one. "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So when I first started watching your videos, and I can clearly see on your channel, we'll just use you an example because you're right here. And I went, okay, I can look at Sifu Dave Charlesworth's YouTube channel. And if I look at the timestamp on the videos, I can tell which ones you posted first and which ones are more recent. And we've both had discussions about this. You freely admit your earlier videos before you were training under Senior Grandmaster Jimenez, you were mostly doing old stuff that we both learned from Sifu Lopez. And because we both learned the same stuff, I identified with it right off the bat. And I went, wow, that's great to see. So if anyone wants to go scrolling back through the videos, go back and look at those. And this is why I call you a historical preservationist, because your desire was to learn the Gaylord method, and that also became a requirement after you joined the WWKF under Senior Grandmaster Tony. And so the videos that you produce directly reflect that. I can see it. Anyone in KAJUKENBO who knows anything about anything with the Gaylord method and what Sifu Lopez taught that he learned from Sigon Gabe Vargas should be able to discern this. I could do it. I'm not really anybody of any importance, and I don't have nearly the history that some of these guys have that should be able to do the same thing, discern what they're seeing. Now, I came to you and in a private conversation, and I said, hey, I think there's a few ways you could tune up what you're doing when you film these videos. I tried to be as polite as I could and not as not be so critical, but offer you pointers. Is that correct, Sifu?
Yeah.
Well, why can't we do more of that in KAJUKENBO?
Well, that's what.
Why can't we do that? You know,
Yeah. And that's
if
exactly.
somebody go ahead.
That's exactly what we should be doing, and there have been quite a few people that have said things here and there, and and then there's also people that just said positive things, I mean, so I mean, I've seen videos all over the place with Kaji Kimbo, and to be honest with you, doing some self-reflection, I don't think I look too bad, to be honest with you, especially with some of those people.
Being
But
being an old senior citizen like you are, sir,
yeah, but
out there,
that's
and you've cranked out a lot. So I got to say, you have cranked out a lot of curriculum. I mean, I think if anyone wanted to get a pretty basic idea of now people have to look at your videos with one thing in mind. It's old Gaylord method stuff from the 60s and 70s, guys. That's what Tony teaches. That's what you're teaching. Now, eventually, as you progress through the ranks and you absorb more stuff into your KAJUKENBO, see, I was lucky that Sifu Tim Gagne was very gracious with me, and he allowed me a lot of wiggle room, when I was creating my brand of KAJUKENBO, so to speak. And I already had another black belt or two to bring to the table. One was in Glenn Morris, the late great Dr. Glenn J. Morris. I have a third-degree black belt in Hoshin Jutsu, and then I have lifetime black belt recognition in Kosho Kenpo, and I brought that to the table along with very low-level Filipino and Indonesian Sila experience into my system of KAJUKENBO, and intrepid self-defense is all of that. My KAJUKENBO, my Kenpo, my Filipino and Indonesian stuff. I can teach what I know separately, but I also teach it together as the intrepid self-defense system. Now, it says systems because there are multiple systems that go into intrepid self-defense. But even when I was just teaching American KAJUKENBO, I was lucky and I was very blessed that Sifu Tim was gracious with me and he allowed me that wiggle room and that flexibility. Now, normally that should take place with anyone in KAJUKENBO who's going 4th degree and above. And you're a 3rd degree now, Sifu Dave. So everything you do working toward your 4th, your 5th, your 6th degree you're giving back to the art with whatever you bring in with your knowledge. And so your KAJUKENBO, even though your body is going to break down with age, your KAJUKENBO will become better as time passes and you bring in more knowledge to your own martial art. And so everybody out there that watches your videos should already know this, especially the black belts. And that's who I'm really talking to here. Color belts, maybe not so much, but if their teacher isn't teaching them that, they're missing out. So everyone needs to kind of zip it and give more grace, whether it's to you, Senior Grandmaster Tony, anyone. And so I always love giving you tips and pointers because then it gives me a chance to be a teacher again, which I can't do
Yeah.
physically, but I can do it, verbally. And and I want nothing more than to watch you grow. And I think that's what everyone in KAJUKENBO should have as a mindset, to reach out and help each other, exalt each other, lift each other up, and help teach each other, because all it can do is help KAJUKENBO in the long run, folks. And
Yeah.
how can that be so hard? How can that be so difficult?
Yeah, I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll give you an example that, something that really kind of takes me back a little bit too, is when people hide behind things, they say hide behind these words like integrity and honor and
Hmm.
things like that. And oh, I'm in my integrity, that kind of thing, right? Well,
Years.
well, I'm just saying because, I was getting beat up, okay, by a couple people in a chat room, and I'm not going to mention their names. And they were questioning, my background with Lopez, and I said, well, Steve Miller can vouch for me. Beth Bailey can vouch for me. Okay, Tim Gagne can vouch for me, and I tagged all three of those people. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Sifu Beth is on
Well,
Facebook.
Beth, I didn't actually because Beth, I couldn't tag her because I don't think she's even on Facebook, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
she's not.
But I did tag, well, a couple people. One of them who's sitting here with me right now actually did jump up and say something. Okay.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this.
I couldn't not. I had to. I mean,
Yeah.
I get sick. I get sick watching people in KAJUKENBO attack each other. You know, I'm not connected with Sifu Tim Gagne on Facebook anymore, and for whatever reason, that's nobody's business. But
Yeah.
I noticed you tagged him, and you know what real integrity is standing up for truth and justice. I
Yeah.
don't care whether I'm saying that. I'm not just saying this to Sifu Tim Gagne. I'm saying it to everyone. Real integrity is standing up for truth and justice, and that is honor. That
Yeah.
is honorable. That is honor. And when you see another brother or sister being cut down, and it's unwarranted, or you can step up and offer some help, that's what we should be doing. Now we're almost getting a little off track, but you're kind of trying to bring it around, I think, back toward the main subject, which is I'm really getting sick of seeing people hide behind fake accounts on social media or
Yeah.
YouTube, anonymous, semi-anonymous accounts. Look, to take this back into focus, what we started with this episode, if you got something to say, don't hide behind a mask. I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep my little blue check mark on Facebook, but I had to submit my government issued identification to be able to have that little blue check mark and then pay $14.99 on top of that. I think
Yeah.
you should make that free for anyone who wants to send you a picture of their ID, Mark Zuckerberg, you jackass. And that's me calling Zuckerberg a jackass, not anybody in KAJUKENBO, because I know
Well,
people
you go
people
on
have
Facebook.
wax in their ears, Dave, and they sometimes don't even hear what you say correctly, and then they come back and attack you. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's like,
but hang on, that blue check mark, whether someone has it or not, if you have your real picture up there, and my Facebook says I've been a member since 2009 or 2008, and when I'm on there, you're either if you're talking about KAJUKENBO, you're going to see Steve Miller or East Wing KAJUKENBO. I got a
yeah.
group. There's not even 40 people in it. Right now, there's like 33 people in it. Sometimes less is more. And it's WWKF, East Wing KAJUKENBO. I have a Facebook page, East Wing KAJUKENBO. I have a profile, Steve Miller. And my profile has a blue check mark. That means when you're talking to me on Facebook, it's the real Steve Miller. On
Yeah.
YouTube, I'm either Steve Miller or East Wing KAJUKENBO. That's it. I got nothing to hide, folks. And
Yeah.
Dave, you're either Sifu Dave Charles or Dave Charlesworth. You don't even have a Sifu in front of your name, which is great.
Yeah.
Titles and names are different things, and people can use Sifu in front of their name on social media if they want, especially if they earned it, blood, sweat, and tears. I just don't. And you're KAJUKENBO Napoli. So you're
Yeah.
either Dave Charlesworth or KAJUKENBO Napoli.
Yeah. And if you go
And
to my
so,
KAJUKENBO Napoli site, you'll see Dave Charlesworth's there.
well, and it's pretty easy to find us. We're easy targets, you
Yeah.
know. And so, ladies and gentlemen, quit hiding behind a mask and a fake account. And be polite. If you're going to call someone out, be polite with honor and respect before you start slandering somebody, for crying out loud. Good
Oh,
grief.
yeah. Well, then, and like I said, words matter too. So when people say something, that's exactly what they meant. Okay. Now, if it sounds kind of off, okay, question that. But like I made a statement while I was getting beaten up by them jackals when I got asked, how long did it take you to get from colored belt to black belt? And I said, well, 40 years. Okay. I call myself a 40-year black belt. Why do I do that? Because it took me, help me out with some math here, Steve. So 1982, 83 to now. How many years is that? 82, 92,
Hang on,
02,
hang on. Let me bust
12,
out the trusty. Let
22.
me bust out the
Total
dusty,
right
trusty
there.
cell phone calculator.
2 years ago, I started KAJUKENBO. Okay.
1982, Sifu Dave.
Huh?
1982.
Yeah,
So
1982, 1983.
2024 minus 1982 is 42 years, Sifu.
42 years. Okay.
There it
So,
is.
gonna subtract a couple years. So it was actually less than 40 years to get my black belt, but almost 40 years to get my
Well,
black belt.
well, hang on, hang on. Now, I just want to. I'll try to be brief because we're not going to make a real long episode out of this. But I learned from Hanshi Hassan in Kosho Kenpo, and I modified my curriculum in America in Intrepid Self Defense and American KAJUKENBO. Now East Wing KAJUKENBO. I modified this. Now I'm not teaching actively anymore due to disability, but if I were, my requirements are based on hours spent for each belt level. For instance, in Kosho Kenpo and Kogaha Kosho Shori Kenpo, we don't have belts. We have 3 levels. They are Kirikami. Hang on, my fingers don't work so well anymore. Kirikami, Moku Roku, and Menkyo. Menkyo Sensei. So I'm a Menkyo Sensei. It's more honorary because I haven't spent all of the hours that it requires because of distance between Hanshi Hassan. My other sensei is Professor Randy Lucas, and unfortunately, he and I had just kind of connected a year or two before my health problems started. So I'm not really in a position to drive to Idaho and train with Professor Lucas, but that door was always open to me. Now, Hanshi Hassan still calls me a Menkyo sensei, but I don't have any problem publicly admitting I had 5 hours with that man in person, and I have had 0 hours training with Professor Lucas. We've gotten together to hang out, we've broken bread together. I have spent hundreds of hours over the telephone with both those gentlemen talking about martial arts. So most of my representation of Kogaha is as an ambassador for truth in the Kogaha system. Now, I also took the training that I did have for 5 hours with Hanshi and all of my notes and material from Hanshi's books. He has one book that he wrote with Bill Durbin, and then I have some other stuff. And I took all that and incorporated it into my KAJUKENBO and Intrepid Self-Defense systems. Now, I might have this wrong, but I believe that the requirements for Kirikami are 33 hours. The requirements for a Moku Roku are 66 hours. And I believe It's 120 or something like that for a Menkyo sensei. And then if you add all those up, let's do that again. Let's get the trusty cell phone calculator out and we'll add all of those up. And so to get to be 33 plus 66 is 99 plus 100. Is it 120? Maybe it's 180. Let's just go ahead and be generous and say it's 180. That's 279 hours of mat time to get a black belt. And what the Menkyo sensei is an equivalency of a black belt in Kogaha Kosho, which is the Mitose system, which is old pine tree Kenpo, all our roots. So technically, I'm trying to keep this short, but the long-winded version you always get from me. Technically, there could be argument and discrepancy regarding your actual mat time, Sifu Dave, and the duration of years that you have been involved and not involved in KAJUKENBO, because there's also a big gap in your 42 years between your training in the 80s with Sifu Lopez and your current affiliation with
Yeah.
Senior
Well,
Grandmaster.
I never was claiming that, you know, I got 40 years of KAJUKENBO, right? Because obviously, clearly, that's not the case. Because who takes 40 years to get a black belt in KAJUKENBO? You
Nobody.
know, 4 to 6 years usually, right?
Nobody.
Uh,
No.
you know, depending on who you talk to, right? But
Well, I always heard it was 5 to 7. See, there you go.
yeah, but it just depends, right? But when did rank become such an important thing anyway, right? And
Well,
we'll talk.
actually, it used to be I heard that it would take 5 to 10, and then I heard 5 to 7. I mean,
Yeah.
10 years, that's a long, you got to be training pretty hard
Yeah.
over a 10-year
Well, I think
period.
Cedro said 4 to 5 years in one of the interviews that he did,
I think
right?
5 would be a safe generalization. Now, here's one thing. I used to tell my students, um, there's 168 hours in a week. Okay. And I would have a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays for an hour and a half. And so I would tell my students, because they would go, well, how come I can't test? Or how come you didn't say I was ready to test for a belt? Well, you're not. If you haven't been coming to my class for,
Mhm.
if I'm teaching an hour and a half on Tuesday and Thursday and another hour and a half on Saturday, that's 4.5 hours out of the week of your 168 hours. Or if you can't show up for 2 hours twice a week,
Yeah.
4 hours out of 168, what the hell should I allow you to test for a belt for,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's not, because honestly, anyone who says 5 years, that would have to be how many hours during the day through the 5-year period,
Well, and either way, I mean, clearly that's not always the standard. It obviously wasn't at Sid Lopez's school because I did 5.5, 6 years with him. So
Well, so
yeah,
so my point was the words. We talked about using words carefully.
yeah.
Affiliation, involvement, and
Hmm.
training time. Those are all different, you know.
Yeah.
And so your affiliation and involvement with KAJUKENBO spans a 42-year period.
Yes.
Mine is pretty close, 30 some years, I think,
Yeah.
35 or 36. And I actually, when I say 35 or 36 years that I've been affiliated and involved with martial arts,
Yeah.
it went Taekwondo, KAJUKENBO, and then I branched off into other arts like Hoshin, Kosho, um, uh, Filipino Kali, Indonesian Silat. But my total affiliation and involvement is different from my total mat time, And so
Yeah.
when we were talking earlier about curriculum, standards, bylaws, and things of that nature, um, you and I had a recent discussion with um, 3 different grandmasters in the WWKF: Senior Grandmaster Tony Jimenez, Senior Grandmaster Robert New, and Grandmaster Jimmy Willis. and it was brought up in conversation. I volunteered us to spearhead development of curriculum requirements and bylaws of the WWKF. I think everybody in KAJUKENBO should have a PDF copy available to email out to anyone who wants it any day of the week, any time of the day.
Yeah.
And that makes it really easy to see what an organization requires of people. And when we do that, I think we need to look at, actual training time, hours required, and do it in a way like you can generalize it. Anyone could do this, just like I did. How many days a week are you teaching and how many hours per class? If it's an hour and a
Yeah.
half, and then you just multiply that. And if it takes 3 months in your school, then you take 2 or 3 days a week, multiplied by however many weeks to equal 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever. I had some kids in Newburgh, at the school you came to visit in 2010, and it took them all 9 months to be ready
Yeah.
for a belt test. 3 out of 4 of those kids earned a yellow belt because I added yellow belt to my curriculum so I can have 8 color belt levels going up the front side and 8 degrees of black belt. Even though I'll never even be an 8-degree black belt, I don't want one. No, thank you. But I left that, for room to grow. And I figure we have 8 sides to the octagon. And I did that mainly for my color belts. I figured it would come out nice to stop at 8 in my black belt curriculum levels. And I never even wrote any of that stuff. I wrote things up to 1st or 2nd degree black belt because that's all I could promote to. But I added that yellow belt, and after those kids tested, 3 of them got a yellow belt, and 1 of them walked out of there with an orange belt because she was training extra hard, harder than those other 3 kids. And when I presented her 2 belts and 2 certificates, I told those kids, "You guys are probably all pissed off, and you can hate me even more now." But that's just one example, you guys. Those kids had to put in a certain amount of time every week. And I told them, we're getting ready for a test. If you guys skip class and I don't see your face in class, that's going to be 1 check mark against you. And you get 3
Yeah.
of those and you can't test.
Well, see,
If
and
you,
that's the thing too. Even when you have standards and time requirements and things like that, it's all subjective, and it's at the instructor's discretion
it is.
to promote when he feels that it's correct to do so. You
It
know,
is.
So I mean, it is what it is. Now clearly, and I
Ooh, I
will
got to
say
plug my
this,
computer in. Hang on. I got to plug my computer in. Keep talking.
okay.
We're going to lose me if I don't
And,
plug in.
and my point being though was that the question that was posed to me was how long did it take you to get from colored belt to black belt? And I said 40 years. Okay, that was the correct answer because that's how long it took to get from the belt I was asked about to black belt.
We can call that your KAJUKENBO journey, Sifu Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a 40-year journey to get to black belt. Okay. Now, whether I was actively training the whole time, it really doesn't matter because we're not talking about whether or not I meet the requirements for 8th and 9th degree. Okay. That's not what I was trying to talk about. And of course, one of them wanted to try to turn it into that. And that's not what it is. Okay. So I'm not claiming anything, okay, that was not true when I said that. I like to treat things with levity too, as well. It's kind of one of those things that I do and kind of joke about things instead of, being Mr. Serious and, let's fight about it. Hey, you want to meet me in the parking lot or on the mat? I'm not going to say that to you. I mean, come on, man. Are we kids or are we freaking adults here? Um,
It's kind of funny. It's kind
that's
of
not to
funny
say,
because
yeah,
here we are rehashing validity of your training history. So we probably shouldn't get too off track,
yeah,
but rightly so. I mean, it seems like you've come under a fair amount of fire over the years and all that stuff. So um, it is what it is. But I know we didn't want to be too long on this episode, and our main objective today for this episode was to call out people who are hiding behind fake
yeah,
aliases on social media and YouTube, and talk about honor and integrity. I think
yeah,
I think some people out there are confused about what those words mean,
yeah. Well,
especially applied to themselves. Like you know, I'm not going to name names, but we both know at least one individual who claims to be full of integrity, but they're guilty of backstabbing and trash talking not just their peers but senior officers in KAJUKENBO. And
Yeah. Well,
folks, I'm gonna put it bluntly, folks. That shit's got to stop. It's fucking getting old. It needs to stop yesterday, ladies and gentlemen.
well, and that's the thing too. You can't say you're full of integrity if you're sitting back and directing others to do the deed for you.
No, sir, you cannot. Or if you're hiding behind a fake alias, and like I said earlier, if you want to do it from your real account and behind a keyboard, that's one thing. But the second you start wearing a mask with a fake bogus account, I lose a lot of respect, if not all of it, for anyone
Yeah.
who wants to do that kind of shit. I have no
Yeah.
respect for someone who does that kind of shit, period. I don't care who they are and what rank they hold or think they hold. Most people, I'm going to quote a dear friend of mine, someone I really look up to in the martial arts. He recently used the term, that guy thinks he's a legend in his own lunchbox. And there's a few different ranks we get in this world. There's the rank God gives us, the rank our teacher gives us, the rank we give ourselves, and the rank the world gives us. And so let's all keep that in mind. And then some people think they can strip rank, and that's a whole nother episode, I'm sure. But I don't, Bob Suttles told me years ago, just call me Bob. I put my pants on one leg at a time. He's Grandmaster Bob Suttles, and I always typically refer to him as Sifu Bob Suttles and call him Sifu, but he really just likes to be called Bob. Now, that guy is one of the most no bullshit, straight shooting, badass motherfuckers I've ever met in KAJUKENBO. That guy doesn't just talk the talk, that guy walks the walk. Now, it looks like my computer's starting to bog down a little bit the way my video is looking with what I'm saying, but you know, there's a lot of people that are just snot nosed little shits out there who weren't even born when some of us started training, and then they come out with their bullshit, and it just needs to stop, folks. It really does. And I should probably just shut up now because I've done way more talking than I should.
Well, it's all good, I mean, and it's good because I mean, I usually get on here and I talk too much. So, um, it is what it is, and I don't want to like keep rehashing things and throwing things out there. But, I just think some people don't realize that what they say and what they do actually affects others, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you this is you can say things to me and I'll take it on board and I'll think about it. And the thing about it is though, is if I think it's BS, it's going right in trash, I'm not going to internalize it. You're not getting free rent in my head, that kind of thing, if it applies, I'll go, okay, Roger that. I'll think about it and I'll apply it to, what I'm doing or whatnot, especially if it's constructive, I mean, and that's what we should be doing is reaching out, trying to help each other, and I realize that, yes, there probably have been a couple things I have said, okay, that I probably shouldn't have. Now, was it a direct attack on anybody? No, I still stand by. I don't think it was, you know. Um, Now I have made some videos where guests on my show had made some pretty blatant, observations about people. And you can call that an attack if you want to. In some cases, that may be merited. And yes, I did provide the venue, so I guess I'm culpable as well. But with that said, I don't think the things that were said were necessarily unwarranted when I allowed it to happen. So
Well,
I'll
well,
leave.
there you go. There you go again with your big boy words with culpable and things like that.
Well, I mean, at fault, culpable, right? So it is what it is, and a lot of that, like was previously mentioned, it was fighting back is what it was. Um, you come at me, you come at my family, me and mine, I'll fight blood, sweat, and tears, You know, if that means on the mat or in the parking lot, then I'll do that too. Okay.
Well, and I'm thinking you're also talking about not just your family at home, but your KAJUKENBO family. And I know my connection's going to crap right now,
Yeah.
so I think we're trying to wrap up. I'm going to say one
Thank you.
last thing and then let you. I'm going to say one last thing and let you close. Ladies and gentlemen, it should all be for the good and the growth of KAJUKENBO, and we're all brothers and sisters. Amen.
Amen. So with that said, if you made it this far, appreciate you watching. If you got any comments or questions, but feel free to leave them below. And I do mean that. You know, but at the same time, I mean, if all you're doing is attacking, probably gonna get blocked. So anyways, have a nice night and thanks for listening, Mahalo.